All right. Welcome to another Next Stop to Adventure. My name is David. I am the Senior Travel Advisor for the Happening Travel Club. Many of you have probably spoken to me on the phone, and I've met several of you as well. We are a nonprofit travel club that focuses on educational experiences or cultural experiences both locally within Florida and around the world. And today we're going to be discussing our upcoming trip to some of Europe's amazing Christmas markets. I have asked Al along because I will be running the technical side of the presentation, and he is also probably familiar to many of you. He's a very, very experienced world traveler, and he's the volunteer escort on many, many of our trips. So he's going to go over the itinerary while I run the tech side of things. So thank you very much, Al.
Is principally a summer cruise program. April is kind of a push early in the season, October in the late end of the season. But you have all of these river ships on the Rhine, especially, and others, Mosel, Danube, etc., but mostly the Rhine. And the Rhine River Cruise companies wanted to invent an extension of their season. And as a result, what they did is they focused on the Christmas markets. And the Christmas markets were popular for the Europeans, but 20 years ago were pretty unknown to Americans. And the river cruises have been interesting in this time period and been quite successful, quite popular. Not quite as popular as summer cruising on the Rhine, but very, very popular. And so they do Rhine cruises, generally a week in nature, sometimes 10 days in length. And their feature, of course, is in the November and December timeframe is the Christmas markets. Now, I'm going to give you some comparisons because there's two different ways to do this. One of which is by the cruise, and then the other is the way the travel club is doing this trip, which is by tour. And first, let me explain about the Christmas markets. Many to most, even small villages, especially in Germany, and France, and Eastern France. This is not something that you see a lot of in Western France. You don't see a lot of it in Spain. You see a little bit of it in Switzerland, which has German influence, and probably the third country after Germany, for sure, number one, and Eastern France is Austria. It is very German roots rooted. And Christmas markets are a time of the year where, it's a darker period of time in Europe, and it is designed to lift spirits. And so basically, think of it like a craft fair and a festival all combined. And even in small villages, there can be extensive Christmas markets. And then you can get into gigantic markets like those in various different places along the Rhine, like Cologne, for example. And they can be gigantic. In fact, Cologne has 3 markets in different locations in city center. It is so big. So essentially what you're doing is you're going to these Christmas markets and you're tasting foods. Lots of different kinds of food booths are available. You're shopping. The Germans and the Eastern French and the Austrians are purchasing gifts at Christmas markets. And that's principally one of the major things that the markets exist. It takes products that you would buy for the holidays as gifts and gift giving out of stores and onto the street. And they set up booths, very charming for you to buy things. And then the other third feature of Christmas markets is entertainment. And various different kinds of entertainment can happen in terms of choirs or bell choruses or bell choirs or different kinds of entertainment that might be done at the Christmas market. In general, these are festivals to lighten and brighten the holiday season, late November and into December, leading all the way up to Christmas. And that's what the Christmas markets are all about. Germany leads this because Germany really is the foundational root of the Christmas theme in the world. Germany really invented the idea of Christmas in the way that we think of Christmas, not only in terms of music, but Christmas trees and ornaments on trees, etc., and so on. So it's why Germany is so important. And some of the best places to do it are along the Rhine. So that's a little explanation of what the Christmas markets in Europe are all about and what you do. Next, David. So this trip focuses on the great rivers in Central Europe. The departure is November 30th, December 11th. If you can't travel this year, the Travel Club is getting ready to announce a departure for 2027. So if you're interested, you can still do this. And if you're not able to do it this year in November, you can do it next year. Now, let me compare and contrast for those. I literally have been to dozens and dozens of the Christmas markets. Let me compare and contrast the experience of this versus a cruise. The cruise has a plus in that you unpack once and basically you're taking the restaurant with you and the bar with you. It's just like an ocean-going cruise, but on a river. Generally, the river ships, the river boats are generally between 60 and 75 cabins. So they're intimate. They're generally 2 decks, maybe a 3rd deck with rooftop space on the 3rd deck, but generally smaller. And they travel along the Rhine during the Christmas markets time in late November and December for the exploration of Christmas. Now, the Rhine is beautiful year round. Chances are you're not going to have snow. You could have a little snow, but chances are you're not going to have snow. On all of my trips to Christmas market, it's only happened one time. So I just tell you in general, if you're going, you got to go to Switzerland or you got to go to the Alps in Austria or in Bavaria if you want to see snow, but probably that's not what you want to do. But the cruise is desirable because between Basel in Switzerland and Amsterdam and some shorter cruises from Frankfurt and Cologne are available for the Christmas markets. The disadvantage of a Rhine cruise for the Christmas markets is the vast majority of the markets are not on the Rhine. And a lot of people think, well, I'm just going to sail right by them and see them. Or we're going to dock and you'll walk right off the boat and the Christmas markets are going to be right at your footsteps. That is not the case in general. There's a couple of minor exceptions to that. But in general, most of the great Christmas markets that you want to see are not on the river. And so as a result, it's a little bit of a misunderstanding that while you're on the cruise, you're actually going to see the markets from the boats, the sightseeing Rhine River cruise. You are not. And so as a result, the cruise doesn't necessarily work as well as you might think because of the timing of travel. And the timing of travel, unless you have an overnight stay in a port on the Rhine, you can't get to the Christmas markets in the evening. They're done during the day, which is not bad, but it gives you the benefit of traveling with your hotel, which is what a cruise ship does. Also has the disadvantage that the hotel travels when it wants and needs to. And as a result, it can interfere with your experience at the Christmas markets. And I always make sure that everyone understands that that's the difference of being on a cruise. If you're okay with that, then a cruise is a great choice. And I do recommend the cruises. Beautiful ships doing this. It's kind of, it can be like ocean going cruising, that you get 8 hours someplace, you get 10 hours, you get 6 hours someplace, and then you move on. It kind of gives you a taste of the destination, not really immersion into the destination. As a result, the Travel Club has created this itinerary, which I think is very clever because it acts like a cruise, but it's not. You stay in Mainz, which is on the Rhine River. Your hotel is right adjacent to the Rhine. It's a good 4-star hotel. And as a result, you're basing there for a 10-day stay and doing exploration in the entire greater Rhine-Mosel Valleys regions to allow you to do exploration of the best sightseeing in the region and the best Christmas markets. And the real advantage of that is on some of the days you may not depart until the afternoon, early afternoon, and you're going to be in the location you're at for markets in the afternoon and in the evening. Which is a real premium, obviously, because of lights and Christmas decorations. And then you return back to the hotel. So this tour has the advantage, like being on a cruise ship, in that once you arrive in Mainz on the Rhine River, you unpack. And you are unpacked for the entire length of the trip. Includes most of the meals, all of the breakfasts, 3 specialty dinners are included, etc. And then all of your sightseeing is included. And the reason that's important for the sightseeing is many places that you want to get to, you can't off of the ship. They might offer a shore excursion to it off of a river cruise, but they might not. 2 big examples are Rothenburg, which is the most beautiful medieval town, village on the Romantic Road in Germany, and the other is in Cochem on the Mosel, and then, of course, Strasbourg in France. You don't do those destinations on the cruise because it's just too difficult, too far for the ship to get to. The travel is slower versus ground transportation, etc. So those are the 2 differences of how you would do the European Christmas markets. Both are good. Both have pluses and minuses. But this itinerary, I think, is quite interesting in what you're able to do. This is called as you see, hub and spoke. And the concept of this tour is to think about a wagon wheel. And you're sitting in the middle of the wheel, where the bolt applies to the wagon. That's where your hotel is. And then you're taking day trips in different directions from your hub location and spoking out. And in this instance, you're going to Cochem on the Moselle. You're doing different places on the Rhine. You're going to France for the ability to do Strasbourg. You're going north to Cologne, which is 2 days on the river ship. So to go to Cologne, you have to do extensive travel, and generally it's going on to Amsterdam if you go to Cologne, etc., and so on. So that's why this is called a hub and spoke. You unpack once, you're in your central hub, and then you do day trips back and forth. It is a very, very interesting way to do escorted touring. Nice plus. Next. 12 days from $14.99. First class hotels, most of your meals, your sightseeing, obviously everybody realizes this is really a terrific value for this trip. The other big contrast of what the travel club is doing is this is basically less than half of the cost of river cruising. And that is because river cruising, regardless of the services that they provide, keep a standard of how much they want to charge for the river cruise. And they don't want to get too much away from what they charge in the summer for the Christmas markets, because you would think, oh, well, I don't have to pay that much money when you get to the summer. So as a result, cruises on the river, on the Rhine, the Moselle, etc., are what they are. You don't have to do that with this tour, so it's exceptionally good value for all the taxes and fees. Next. 4-star hotel, Airways. I've stayed at this hotel twice. It's a very good hotel. Normally, I tell people when you go to Europe, especially Germany and Austria, hotels are smaller. You can't expect the same kind of services of an American hotel. This is an exception to that rule. The Airways is a very good 4-star hotel. It's more modern. It's bigger. It's right on the Rhine. It is in central Germany, west of Frankfurt. That's why it's called West. It's not too far from the Frankfurt airport, which is the major gateway into Germany. Frankfurt is the major gateway, and it sits between Frankfurt and Mainz. And Mainz is another. Frankfurt is the major entry into Germany. Mainz is the major hub until you get to Cologne in the north, is the major hub of the lower Rhine Valley. So it's absolute great location. And a great location for this hub and spoke itinerary to get to many different places. Nice 4-star hotel with breakfast included. Next. Comprehensive sightseeing included. Now, I want to point out, take a quick look at both of these pictures. One is of Rothenburg, one is of Cochem, and on the Moselle. This is really a good representation of what you're looking at. If you didn't know better, on the right, you would think, oh, well, this is some kind of fair or it's some kind of festival. Well, that's what a Christmas market is. And so as a result, they may have rides and they'll have different kinds of attractions and they'll have entertainment. The herald importance of the markets, of course, are the shopping and the booths. But it is a very festive event, very relaxed. There's no hustle and bustle of it. It's not like going into central London or central Rome. That's not what the experience on the rivers is like. The picture on the left gives you the quaintness of the Christmas trees and the lights. Very often you will see trees that are illuminated with live candle. We don't see that in the United States. In Germany, you see it a lot. It is a beautiful thing to see. And I point that out because the sightseeing in the different places that you're going to and the different markets that you're going to do are a very scenically pretty place to visit and see. Whether it's during the day or at night, you'll have a combination of both on this trip. It's very pretty. It simply is. It's very pretty. Comprehensive sightseeing is included. Next. Transportation's included, of course. When you arrive in Frankfurt, air is not included in this trip. And the reason is, and I always say this, this is my opinion, and a lot of experience for me. I've been to 148 countries in the world. I've escorted tours to more than 100. I would never let somebody handle my airfare. Never. And the reason is because if you have any kinds of changes, etc., the airline will want to come back who booked your air. And of course, you don't have the ability in an emergency situation to communicate, especially in time changes. You want to do it directly with the carrier. So book your air, and if at all possible, book your air directly with the carrier, not booking.com, not through Kayak, not through Expedia, directly through the carrier, because then you're the carrier's client. And if you have any issues, they'll help resolve it. We hope in the world of airfare today they will resolve it, but at the end of the day, that's your best chance of resolving it. So air is not included in this price, and you wouldn't want it to be included. Next, when you arrive, all you're going to have to do is to advise the travel club when your arrival flight is and when your departure flight is. And the travel club is going to handle a private transfer for you. If you came in single into Frankfurt, they're going to transfer you single to the airport, from the airport to the hotel, and from the hotel to the airport. They'll plan the timing correctly for your transfers. And then, of course, all of the transportation is included for the sightseeing. Next. As I said, most meals included. This is just a personal opinion on my part. This includes breakfast every morning, which I think is very important and a nice feature. And then it includes 3 dinners, a welcome dinner, a Christmas market dinner, and a farewell dinner. To be honest with you, you don't want more dinners than that, because there are so many opportunities for special experiences. You don't want the travel club or anyone. I escort lots of trips where it's breakfast and dinner daily. Sometimes I feel a little sad for my guests that breakfast and dinner daily means you don't have any choice of where you're going to eat. It's included. And while, yes, you can plan on that, it doesn't give you nearly the special experiences that are possible, especially on this trip, because you're going to go to markets where you want to sample foods. You're going to literally, on this trip, see through the course of the 10 days, hundreds of different kinds of specialty foods that are sold in booths in the markets themselves in the different places that you go to, and you want to experiment and you want to taste. And that's one of the great things of a Christmas market, is they literally bring the food outside, from the inside of the building to outside into the markets, and you want to be able to do that. So the meal inclusion, in my opinion, is completely right. Next. This trip will have socials. Now, the travel club has made the decision that they are, on trips like this, they're always going to have at least one social. And what will happen is you will be able to get together. If you're in the villages, it will be held in the villages. If you're outside the villages, you can come to the villages. But in general, it is a social meeting where you meet the escort of the trip, or somebody that's exceptionally knowledgeable of the trip if the escort is in your source destination that you're going to. Either way, you're going to hear a lot of really good information on the trip. But the number one thing of value is to meet the other guests of the trip. And the social literally is a social to meet other people. I'm escorting in August of 2027, just as an example, a trip to Africa. There are 4 escorts on that trip from the Happening Travel Club, and the first social is next month, 1 year in advance of the trip. 60-ish or so guests, and everybody that comes to the social will be able to meet each other for the event. They're getting ready to announce that, I believe, if they haven't already done it. So socials are really valuable. And one of the other things that I would say is we have very good travel agencies and companies in the villages. Expedia is great as a new kind of company, a digital company. AAA is good as kind of an old-fashioned legacy travel company. Both are really good, and lots in between. This is proof that the Happening Travel Club is not that. They are a nonprofit, and this kind of integration is really important to them. You wouldn't see this kind of social. I personally appreciate that as an escort. Next. Of course, you can only participate in this trip if you're a member of the travel club. This went into effect on January 1st. Many special benefits from vendors because the travel club is private. It markets publicly, but it's not available to the general public. You must be a member. It follows Costco and BJ and Sam's Club's model. And the reason they're doing this is because many vendors will provide special rates because it's private, not available to everybody. And there's the new program of Insider Rewards. You can book your own cruises and tours and earn $5 for every $100 that you spend through the program. So you should take some time to do that because it's really an incredible benefit. Next. All right, so now let's talk about the itinerary. First, overnight flight from the USA to Germany. Often, there's confusion about what day you're leaving. You're leaving on the day that the travel club tells you the trip departure date is. It departs on that date. We showed it to you, David showed it to you earlier in our conversation today. That is day one. You leave the United States on that day because it's an overnight flight to Germany. You arrive in Frankfurt on day two, but your departure from the USA and therefore your air is on day one. David, could you remind me? I just simply don't remember. What's the departure date?
Yes, you depart the U.S. on November 30th on this trip.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So day one is November 30th. That's your departure from your gateway, presumably Orlando, Tampa, other gateways for people around the country that watch this video. That's your departure date, overnight. On day two, as I said, you'll arrive in Frankfurt. This is the major gateway into Germany. It's its largest airport, largest traffic, and you will be transferred once you arrive in Frankfurt. Generally, you're looking at morning flights into your arrival in Frankfurt, and you will be met with private transfers based on your flight, Happening Travel Club, and your name. And you'll be transferred to your hotel on the Rhine River, Frankfurt West, Mainz. And that's what will happen. You'll have a welcome dinner on the first evening, social with your escort and the other tour passengers. And that's how day two is. And this trip is no different than any other trip to Europe. The entire day is designed to keep you up because jet lag is the number one issue for this trip. Number one issue is jet lag. And because this length is only 10 days, you want to make sure that you stay up till at least 10 o'clock and you fight the jet lag. So by the time you get to day three, you've had a good night rest because you've stayed up that long on day two and you fought the time change. Otherwise, studies show, and my experience shows, you will be very unhappy for the next 3 to 4 days. So you stay up to fight jet lag. That's what we do on day two. Then on day three, we begin our sightseeing pattern. Now remember, the hub and spoke has begun. We have already stayed a night at our hotel. We have 9 more to come in our hotel. It's working like a cruise ship. And now think of this like a port visit. It's not a port visit, but it's like a port visit. We're going to do a day of sightseeing in the Rhine Valley and the Lorelei River Cruise. The Lorelei is a very famous statue. This is a section of the Rhine River that is designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now, most tours that do this, they travel so fast, if you blink, you miss it. I'm always unhappy on tours that I escort and how quickly they do this. For about 90 miles, the largest concentration of water-facing castles in the entire world is in this UNESCO World Heritage Site. This cruise is like what a river cruise would be on Viking or Amadeus, etc., except you're doing it on the original river cruise company. It's called KD Lines, which is the Deutsche German brand. They initially did a lot of river cruising, overnight stays, and they moved out of that market. And now other companies, many other companies do it. But their number one business is sightseeing cruises. And they have many ships connecting all of the ports in the central Rhine, which is where you're at, and the Rhine Valley. And the Rhine Valley is where all of these castles are. It is spectacular. they call them mountains. You and I would call them hills, 1,000 to 2,000 feet. It's a hill, but they call it a mountain. And they're principally covered in vineyards and grapes. The ice wines of the Rhine Valley are world famous, the best in the world. Best. And in fact, generally, in the time that you're going, they're doing the harvesting of the ice wines of the Rhine Valley. Quite spectacular, very expensive, and absolutely fabulous to drink. It's a dessert wine. And so your sightseeing is aboard a boat. You will see many of the ports. You will see many of the castles. It will be a one-way cruise, and then we will return by motor coach down the Rhine Road. It's a narrow road, or perhaps by train. I haven't seen that yet. But either way, you're going to travel on the boat doing the Rhine Valley. This is a spectacular day of sightseeing and beautiful. Not particularly Christmassy, but you're seeing the absolute heart of what the Rhine Valley and the Rhine River is famous for. And you have enough time here to explore it for the entire day, as opposed to, in general, I would be traveling, if I was escorting many tours, from Amsterdam to Frankfurt or somewhere in the related area of Frankfurt in one day, and try to do this for 2 hours, as opposed to an entire day experience. So it's quite good on day 3, and we return to the hotel. Next, on day 4, we're going to Rothenburg. And Rothenburg is part of what is called the Romantic Road. This is, some would argue, the most beautiful non-Alp portion of Germany. The Romantic Road is a connection of spectacular German heritage villages of approximately 1,000 years in age, Rothenburg being one of them. Rothenburg is small. It's fairy tale-like. It looks exactly like you would think an 18th century children's storybook of a fable would look like in Germany. That's what Rothenburg looks like. It is quite beautiful. The lanes and the villages, the architecture of the exteriors of the villages. I, in general, am not a huge fan of German food, but that's just a personal preference. You have the ability to sample many things. And of course, one of the big highlights here in Rothenburg is to go to the Retters Christmas market. It is one of the most famous in all of Germany, the entire, all of Central Europe. If they come to a Christmas market outside of something that might be in their backyard, this is one of the 2 or 3 Christmas markets that they're coming to. Quite spectacular, quite beautiful. And we do this as a day trip. And then we return back to our hotel. So again, this is like a ship's shore excursion. Yeah, thank you. The market, it's just really stunning. I draw attention to the bottom middle picture. Main Square in Rothenburg, and it's a good example of what the booths are like. And so you're doing ornaments, and you're sampling foods. You're just buying bites, just tastes of different kinds of food, cheeses, meats, desserts, hot foods, all kinds of different kinds of things. It is just really a dream, and this for Christmas is tailor fit for Americans, for Floridians that want to have that taste of the Christmas experience. To be at this market is the dream. The other thing that's really spectacular at the Christmas markets is the Christmas tree. Of course, the Christmas tree, of decorating a tree, bringing it into your house, was an invention of Germany. And "O Christmas Tree" as a song was written in Heidelberg on the Rhine River in Germany. And so you're going to see many, many beautiful Christmas trees that are just automatically embraced in this is what our culture says Christmas is all about. A wonderful day here at Reitler. Next. Then on day 5, one of my favorite French cities that so many Americans don't get to, and that is Strasbourg. Strasbourg is an outcropping of the Rhine. There is a offshoot of the Rhine River by canal that goes to Strasbourg that was man-made, connecting Strasbourg to the main river for trade and traffic. Some of the river cruises during the summer go there. A few of the Christmas market cruises go there, not many. But Strasbourg is beautiful, and the canals completely encircle the downtown area of Strasbourg. The reason why this day is so good is you're staying on the Rhine in Germany, but this gives you an outstanding taste of France. And the French are different in their Christmas markets. First off, and I say this lovingly, those in Strasbourg at the Christmas market, that's what that word is for Strasbourg, they're a bit more snobbish. And they say, are you kidding? Rothenburg? No, 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 no. It is Strasbourg. We're French, and we do it right. And in many respects, they are right. Not only is the market beautiful and the stalls, you see that bottom middle picture of the stalls, but the food is breathtaking, just absolutely breathtaking. You know, the Italians and French go back and forth on who is better. For this, because it being Christmas markets, I vote for the French. And being in Strasbourg is a great day of sightseeing in Strasbourg, and then the experience of the Christmas market there, quite outstanding. And then we return back to the hotel. On day 6, we go to Cologne. Now, Cologne is the largest city. We don't really focus much on Frankfurt. There's not as much to see in Frankfurt, frankly. Cologne is quite beautiful, and that, of course, is because of the cathedral you see in upper left. It is the most important cathedral in Germany. It survived World War II, which is why it's so important. So much of the Rhine and so much of Western Germany was literally obliterated in World War II. So lots of post-World War II construction. Cologne has a lot of original architecture. The Grand Christmas Market on the Rhine will be a daytime evening experience in Cologne. And the reason is because Cologne is so large, they have 3 markets within 1 mile of the Cologne Cathedral. So it gives you the opportunity of the experience of the cathedral itself, which is quite beautiful, and then the markets themselves in addition to the sightseeing in Cologne. So this is a very beautiful day, completely different than Romantic Road, for example, of Rothenburg, or the French experience in Strasbourg. And the reason I point that out to everybody that, especially watching this in demand later, is a lot of people go, well, the Christmas markets are the Christmas markets. It's just a lot of Christmas markets. Well, yes, but no. Because the markets have different flavors based on who and what community is doing it. These communities are exceptionally proud of what they present at Christmas time and at the Christmas market. So what they do is they represent their community in their unique ways of the culture of the communities that you're visiting. And I almost promise you, when you return back, you're going to go, I loved the Cologne markets because, or I liked the Strasse markets because, or I liked Rothenburg because, but they are for different reasons. And that's what you'll experience here. And at the end of the Cologne Christmas markets, you return back to your hotel. No packing and unpacking. Day 7 goes to Cochem. Now, Cochem is interesting because it's on the Mosel. Mosel is far less known than the Rhine. You get to a point in Rhine Valley where the Mosel begins, and you would make, if you were traveling north, you'd make a hard left up the Mosel River all the way to Liechtenstein. We go as far as Cochem on the trip. Cochem is a German village, but completely different feel than the places that we've been to in Germany. This is much more rural. This is South, if there was such a thing, this is South Dakota for Germany. This is a much more less populated area of a country that has 80 or 90 million people. This region is very unpopulated. And one of the reasons why the Moselle is beautiful and scenic. And this is a completely different experience. And one of the highlights of this day is the Moselle is very beautiful. The combination of the river and the mountains. Remember, the mountains are 1,000 to 2,000 feet, as you can see there, with castles on the top of them. And it's hard to tell in this picture on the right, but that is a road in front of those buildings in this village on the Moselle. And you're going to travel along from the Rhine on the Moselle on this little 2-lane road that travels along the river. It is beautiful. It is just simply beautiful. Very few, if any, big highways that you do on this trip or travel on this trip. This is the kind of travel experience that you will have in Cochem and the market and sightseeing in Cochem along the Moselle River. And the Christmas market there, again, completely unique, a big focus of the Christmas trees and the castle here in Cochem. Incidentally, they'll play a game on this trip of let's count the nativity scenes that we see. And if you get in somewhere into the neighborhood, I'll just give you a heads up. If you guess somewhere between 500 and 600, you're probably going to win on the tour. It's an incredible variety and number of nativity, which I happen to like very much. And at the end of Cochem, again, back to the hotel. You've unpacked and you're returning to your bed at the hotel. On day 8, you're going to take a southbound trip. And this trip does charming villages and castles along the Rhine. You have seen castles on your Rhine Valley cruise. Now you're going to get closer in terms of being able to do more sightseeing using the river road. And it's a 2-lane road like what we did in Mosel on the Rhine, and you're going to travel and see the castles much closer. You're going to stop in many villages, of which there are many. And when I say villages, I'm talking about villages that have 800 people in them. And the main square is the main square, beautifully decorated, could have a Christmas market going on, but it is quite beautiful. And it is a very Christmas-like experience to go to these villages and travel along the river road, along the Rhine to see the castles and these villages. Your day is done on day 8 for that. And then back to your hotel. One of the big Christmas markets that you're going to do in these villages is Rudesheim. And Rudesheim on the Rhine is one of the most famous of the Christmas markets. Rudesheim is beautiful. It's just absolutely fairy tale-like. Rudesheim is not a large town by any stretch. When I say town, I'm stretching calling it a town. I don't remember the population, but we're talking, I think, 5,000 people. I could be proven wrong. I haven't looked at this in a long time. But Rudesheim is beautiful along the Rhine, very famous. And you go to the Christmas markets there. Koblenz is important. Mainz, which is very near where you're staying, is also important. So more Christmas markets.
As a bit of context, if you look at the picture in the top right, you can see the people. Picture how the size of that must compare to like Spanish Springs town square in the villages.
Yeah.
It's smaller.
Yeah, and actually that's really a good outline. Rudesheim will feel like Lake Sumter Landing. it's it will feel that way to you, which is lovely because of the amount of Christmas trees, Christmas booths for the market, etc. It's just beautiful. Okay, and then back to the hotel. On day 9, we go to Nuremberg. And Nuremberg is the most famous Christmas market in Germany. Now, Rothenburg is going to argue with me, and Strasbourg is going to argue with me, but Nuremberg is the most famous market in Germany. And one of the reasons it's so important is because of its size. If you're German and you're going to travel to a Christmas market for the Christmas season, you're going to Nuremberg. And of course, Arturo will do this. This trip is impossible for a Christmas market Rhine cruise. It's just impossible. They're not going to do this because it takes too much effort on their part to organize it. Your trip goes to Nuremberg, and it is the most famous Christmas market. Of course, all of us know Nuremberg's fame of being the trials at the end of World War II. This day does not really focus much on only a little tiny bit of the history of Nuremberg and World War II. Much more to see and do, but it is quite beautiful. And Nuremberg is very pretty, and the market is it is a world-class standard, right? Just simple as that. It is absolutely amazing. And then back to the hotel. The pictures there for the Christmas market. The architecture there, that upper right picture is just breathtaking. This is Main Square in Nuremberg, and each of those paths, this is an outdoor market, and that's exactly what you want to do. So you can see the breadth of the tenting and the shopping and the food tasting and the entertainment that's done in their main square. Again, for the Germans, the Austrians, and the French, there is a pride of this moment. This is not, while tourism always plays a role in everything, everywhere in the world, and Europe is not excluded from that, by the way, this is not a tourism event. It draws huge numbers of visitors, but it's not created for that. It is created for the residents of the town, the village, or the region to come to Main Town Square to celebrate the holiday. And that's why that picture you're looking at exists, and we get to enjoy it. And so it will help you appreciate so much more the sightseeing that you do on days like this in Nuremberg. And of course, another evening experience there. And then back to the hotel. Day 10, I love this day. Finally, to the lower Rhine, so much of the focus on the Rhine is farther north, going through the Rhine Valley to Cologne. But Heidelberg is beautiful, and Heidelberg is more famous than it is visited. And the reason it's more famous than it is visited is the castle is a ruin. It is not an active visitation castle. You can go to Heidelberg and you see parts of it, but it is a ruin and right on the Rhine. And the castle is quite beautiful. And the Heidelberg community, a larger city. This is a larger city. You'll travel the river road south to the lower Rhine to Heidelberg. Heidelberg is also not really well visited by Americans like us. I'm the same age as all of you that'll be traveling on this trip because Heidelberg is Boston. Heidelberg is where all of their big universities are. More than 50% of all of the people in Heidelberg are college students. And another reason why it's not as visited as well. But Heidelberg is beautiful. And being on the Rhine, the castle is really world famous. And the market here is really quite good. It's not like Nuremberg, but this is where you see all of the famous Christmas trees from Silent Night. And their theme of their Christmas market is where the song was written in the 18th century. And so you see all of that in Heidelberg. Quite beautiful. Again, different context because they focus on Christmas trees at their market and food and shopping and etc. So fun. This is a fun another evening experience from our hotel, and only about approximately an hour and 10 minutes away. So as a result, in doing from our hub to this spoke, it is quite relaxed and easy to do. Next. The day 11 spends some time in Frankfurt. Not actually of the trip my favorite, but the market is quite good. This is a major city market. And one of the reasons this is a nice inclusion is for you to see what a major city does. Frankfurt is Chicago for Germany. There's Berlin, and then there's Frankfurt. Berlin is New York, Frankfurt is Chicago. Now, it's not as big as Chicago, but it's like it in its thinking. And so you're in a big city where you're going to get to see a big city. Their market is very good. And this also gives us an opportunity to do a lovely farewell event on day 11. And then back to the hotel. And then on day 12, after breakfast, you're transferred to the Frankfurt airport. You'll have a private transfer. You're just advising the travel club your departure airline and time, and they're going to arrange and tell you your transfer is at X period time from the hotel. And very close, only about a 20-minute connection from your hotel to arrive at Frankfurt Airport. On day 12, that is the departure day of your flight. So day 1 is your departure from USA. Day 12 is your departure from Frankfurt back to the USA. And on day 12, your return arrives the same day into the United States, Orlando, Tampa, Atlanta, wherever your return would be. Next. A couple of options here. First off, if you would like, you can have Thanksgiving in London and Paris. I'm getting ready to do Scandinavia and the Arctic Circle by train with a large group from the villages, and I'm doing a pre-stay in London. Every opportunity I have, I go to London. One of the things, if you've been to London or you've been to Paris, I just point out to you that this travel November 24 to December 1 is great because London and Paris are the two most beautiful cities in Europe during the holidays. They have elaborate decorations. There is so many special holiday events, and this is a great time to go. Now, we talk about Thanksgiving. For our Thanksgiving, the French and the British do not celebrate American Thanksgiving. So there's no celebration of our Thanksgiving. But it's holiday time, and London and Paris are great. There's just no question about it for the stay. And it includes 3 nights in London and 3 nights in Paris. And then it is a very convenient, whether you do a ground transfer, however the travel club arranges it, is a ground transfer from Paris to your hotel in Germany. Or the last time I've done this, I did it by a nonstop or direct train. Very convenient. Either way, it's excellent transportation. So London and Paris is a pre-tour, good value for the 8-day trip. And I believe there was a post, David. You're just running through. Day 1 is overnighting to the USA. So that departure date is the departure, arriving in London. Virtually no chance of snow. It could, but generally not. Includes London sightseeing on day 3, a day at leisure in London. Harrods is fantastic for Christmas tea at the holiday time here. Day 5, then you're crossing the channel to Paris and staying in Paris. Christmas in Paris is, again, it's just a dream of what it looks like. Next. Day 6 has sightseeing in Paris. Day 7 has a day at leisure in Paris. Galeries Lafayette is, in my opinion, the most beautiful department store in the world. And at Christmas, it's breathtaking. The Gourmet Market is a building about the size of BJ's or Sam's Club, just with gourmet foods at the holidays at Galeries Lafayette. Day 8 then comes to an end, and you're transferred to your hotel on the Rhine River. Next, you have a post tour on the 11th to the 17th. If you would like to do this, this does the Danube, and Vienna, Budapest, and Prague are included. 7 days, good value. You travel from Mainz across the Alps to Vienna, and you stay on Vienna. You do the Christmas market there. It's the largest in the world in Vienna. Completely different experience than uh, the Rhine Valley and the Christmas markets we've talked about. Next. On day 2, you have sightseeing and including the Christmas market in Vienna. Next, on day 3, you go to Budapest, which I love. Budapest is just beautiful. This is on the Danube, the Budapest Christmas market. So it gives you the third river opportunity. Day 4, sightseeing and the Christmas market in Hungary, in Budapest, the largest in the country. Then the next day is to Prague, my favorite city on the continent. Prague is beautiful. It's not the size of Paris, but it has the same character feeling as Paris in the Czech Republic. And the Christmas market's quite beautiful on day 5. Day 6 is sightseeing and the Christmas market. Always go to Prague when you have the ability or chance to do it. Day 7, you fly to the USA. So you can do the pre-trip in London and Paris, and the post-trip of Vienna, Budapest, and Prague. Quite good if you would like to stretch your trip out in Europe for the holidays. Next. Full payment, of course, now for the November departure, and a deposit when the club announces the 2027 departure. You'll be able to do it deposit. Reservations are done 24 hours a day through that link for Europe Christmas markets. Next. We have some additional meetings coming up on August 5th. If you would like to learn more about the African Safari for the Travel Club, they're doing a pre-tour to Victoria Falls and to Botswana, and then in South Africa to Kruger National Park, an incredible experience at Kruger, and then a post-tour to Madagascar. And that live meeting for Africa on August 5th has participants from all over the continent. South Africa, from Zimbabwe, from Kruger National Park will be participating in the meeting live. And so you can talk to African specialists that really know the ins and outs of Africa. A new Western Mediterranean cruise that does Athens all the way to Lisbon, which is an incredible new itinerary on August 12th, and a new trip to the Northern Lights of Iceland. And that's on August 19th. And it'll be a meeting like what we're participating in right now. I'll give you a lot more detail on the trips. Next. So that's the Europe Christmas markets. As I said, if you want to do a cruise, those are good choices. I really, really like this because it works like a cruise on land. It's a land cruise and stays the 10 nights right in the heart of the Rhine Valley, November 30 to December 11th. So, David, that's the summary of the trip, and I'm happy to help if we have any questions and whatever else you'd like me to do for you today.
Yeah,
David.
if anybody has any questions, you can unmute at this time. To unmute, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a picture of a microphone. It should be red. If you just tap on it, it will unmute you so you can ask your questions.
Okay, David, this is Fred.
Hi, how are you today?
Good, David. I don't know, can you tell us how many people you have so far on the pre-trip and the post-trip and the trip, or you
I
get
don't
an
have
idea?
that pulled up right now. I've got it's a larger group than you went to South America and Antarctica with, but I
Wow.
don't have the exact numbers. My
Okay.
booker is running a bunch of stuff right now, so I don't have my booking system up. So I don't have the exact numbers right now.
Okay, that's okay. And the social, this is great. Any idea when you might have that as well? The social before it's got to be before the pre-trip, of course. So any idea?
None yet, exactly. It will likely, I'm guessing, probably October, just because September is going to be a busy month. I've got several trips going.
Okay.
So it will probably be October.
Okay, that's good. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from anybody?
I have one.
Steph?
I have one. I'm talking about money. How much cash and in what denomination should we bring? What type of currency?
Can I recommend, and this, I would recommend this universally across the board, going to Europe. Credit cards are going to be almost universally accepted. Even at booths of people selling, you generally are not going to run into situations where they say, I won't accept a credit card. They may have a service fee on it, 2%, 3%, whatever it might be. But credit cards are almost universally accepted. Every place, restaurant-wise, store-wise, etc., will accept credit cards. I always, in Europe, recommend credit cards. And the reason credit cards are so valuable in traveling in Europe is because the credit card stands behind you. If you have any problems later, if there was a charge problem, the amount was incorrect, whatever it might be, your credit card bank issuer here in the US will stand behind you. So as a result, in general, I don't think cash is as important as it once was. The other thing that I think is important in terms of money is don't buy it in advance. Wait till you get to Europe and buy euros there. Buy the amount that you think that you would need for 10 days, incidental charges, people that don't accept a credit card, but you love this ornament, for example, and you want to pay for it. Dollars are not widely accepted in Germany or France, so you can't assume that they will take dollars because they are not widely used. It is euro. However, I never worry about the amount of euro that I have, because when I finish the trip, I generally know, I know I'm only speaking for myself, but I'm going to go back to Europe someday. So I keep my money. And the reason I do that is because I don't want to pay the fees to sell the money back. I'm too cheap to do it. So as a result, I don't do that. I hold on to the euro. And my next trip to Europe, I'll be carrying it with me, and then I'll spend it there. But in general, my general answer is not a whole lot of money,
Okay.
because you're going to try to do it by credit
Go ahead,
card.
get the
You
line.
can get money.
And check your cards. Most major credit card issuers offer cards without foreign transaction fees, so it's
second
very
one.
likely you already have a card that doesn't charge the extra fee. And like Al said, last time I was in Greece for 2 weeks, I only pulled out 200 euro to start with, and I came home with 10 euro and never pulled out any extra. So almost everyone took credit card. It wasn't a problem. So,
Question.
sure thing.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Bidnar.
Okay, now, you did say we take the buses so many days, correct?
Yes.
Is there a restroom on the bus?
No.
No.
No,
Did
Europe
they
doesn't
stop-
have that like here in the U.S.
Well,
Okay,
they
now.
do. Wait. Hold
Wait a
on.
minute. Okay.
They do. They just are not going to let you use it. The motor coach companies, we see the Belgian Van Hoels, for example, here in the U.S. very frequently. They build the lavatory on the coach. They just won't unlock it. And the reason is because the ability to like RVs, RVing in Europe is not nearly as popular as it is in the United States. We have lots of ability, although not enough. We have lots of ability to, forgive my words, dump the lavatory from an RV or a bus in the US. They do not. And as
Okay.
a result, they don't allow it.
Okay, now we've been to Spain, going through Portugal. If we're in the bus for a very long period of time, they do have their stops.
Yeah. For me as escort, and I know the Happening Travel Club, you're never going to go, in general, if you have a travel day, you're never going to have more than approximately 2 hours.
Okay.
And that stretches to the maximum. I just did, for example, an 8-day trip from the Villages to Washington for the American 250 fireworks in Williamsburg. I make sure when we had our social meeting on that trip to say, you don't need to worry about a bathroom because it's front and center for me of knowing how important it is. And we are going to frequently plan bathroom breaks. So,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and also a reminder for this trip, because it's a hub and spoke, you're not traveling very, very long distances between cities because everything's planned as a day trip. So you're not going to have a 6-hour bus ride to go somewhere like you would if you were traveling cross country. So
Thank
it
you
makes it
very much.
easier.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
I was wondering if I could ask how long the cruise is. Hearing me okay?
1 second, I'm getting a little bit of echo. Sandra, I'm going to mute you for a second because I feel like the echo's coming from you. And we can unmute you after. Okay. All right.
Is that any better?
That's a little bit better.
My question was, when we travel from the hotel to the different markets, what do you feel the length of time is on the average to these markets and back to the hotel? I was just wondering how much time is spent traveling. And I didn't quite hear before what the ship or that we travel back and forth on, what it's like. I'm sorry.
yeah. So in general, depending on where you're going, if you did the Rhine Valley, for example, doing the UNESCO heritage of the castles, that trip or going to Cologne, from where you're at to Cologne is about an hour and 35 minutes, 40 minutes. In general, off the top of my head, I don't think any of our travel experiences are more than 2 hours approximately. The longest is to Nuremberg. The others along the Rhine and into Romantic Road are even less than that. So, to David's point, these are planned as day trips. So think about you're in the villages and you're doing a day trip to Orlando. You're doing a day trip to Tampa. You're doing a day trip to the World Equestrian Center in Ocala. That's what this experience is kind of like. And your hotel is the villages. So that's approximately the travel. And you do it on motor coach transportation. So you're with the escort and the other passengers doing it as a tour.
Oh, so you take the bus to the boat that's going to take you down the Rhine.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Now, wait. Let's make sure that we're clear on this. On this 10-day itinerary, you are going to do one cruise on one day. And you're going to do a cruise that is going to take you to the Lorelei on the Rhine and to the Rhine Valley. And so you're going to see the castles and traveling in the UNESCO World Heritage Site of the Rhine River, but that is one day. And that sightseeing of that cruise is approximately 3 to 4 hours. You'll cruise northbound from Mainz, and you'll cruise, and where there's 17 or 18 different stops on that cruise. Where the tour takes you off of that stop, you'll come back by motor coach. So that's the cruise experience on this trip on the Rhine. The reason it's included that way is so you have the experience of being on the Rhine to see the castles from the water. So that's the experience. Then the other tours are done by motor coach, are done by ground transportation.
I thought you said on the Mosel River we would be cruising.
No, you will not. You'll travel along the river road on the Mosel. I'm not even sure. They might have a local, 1 hour sightseeing cruise from Cochem, but in general, the Mosel. This is a time period where cruise traffic on the rivers doesn't exist like it is right now. Cruise traffic is just humongous on the Rhine and the Mosel River. In this time period, the only cruise traffic that is going on tourism-wise are those that are doing Christmas markets, and that doesn't even exist on the Mosel. So no, you wouldn't see that.
I have a question.
Sure thing. How can we help you?
Hi, my name is Sandy. What about tipping for our guide and then tipping for the bus driver? Do we bring cash along for that? How do we do that?
Yeah. David, you
So
want to-
I'll include in the final documents. We'll tell you what the
Okay.
expectations for that would be.
Okay.
Depending on the size of the group, I may have someone from here, like Al, or someone similar who goes on the trip, and they are generally volunteers. So you would tip them, but they would take U.S. currency because they're from here, generally speaking.
Okay, so the US for that, then what about the bus driver?
The bus drivers and stuff, it depends on which company I use. Tipping is
Okay.
not as prevalent through Europe as it is here in the US. So the
Okay.
expectations, even when tipping is done, it tends to be lower. But I will be double checking with my transport companies and tour companies, and finding out what the expectations are. And in the final documents I send out before departure, I will include that information.
Yeah,
you'll
I
know
just
how to
don't.
prepare.
Yeah, I don't want to be running around the last day looking for a couple $100 somewhere.
No, exactly. Yeah, I'll let you know before you depart, so
And-
you'll know
Sure.
what to expect.
All
And
right,
from-
thank you very
from-
much.
And from that, Sandra, from my seat, when you're in Europe and you're on a trip like this, the travel club may have a specialist guide. And a specialist guide is going to come aboard and do some kind of special sightseeing.
All right,
The escort is going to give you a recommendation, a half-day tour of 2 or 3 euros to that
Okay.
guy for a half day.
all righty.
So
And then at
all of
that
that's-
point, we would do euros then,
yeah. Oh,
because
and-
they're local.
Yes,
Okay,
that's right.
okay,
That's
all righty. And all of Germany and wherever we're going is just euros? It's not?
That's right.
The only
Okay,
exception
One
is if you
person.
do the pre-tour, they do have the British pounds in London.
Yeah.
But I believe they'll accept euros a lot of places as well.
yeah, yeah, we're going to be going on that also, so, okay,
Yeah.
thank you for letting me know that.
I just had a question about when you go to the markets, you're allowed to go off and do something else, right? In the time
that's right.
frame you're there.
I don't do the Brazilian tour group with somebody carrying a flag you have to follow. You're there. You'll be given a time to meet back at a certain location,
Okay.
and then you're off to do your own thing and explore it as much as you'd like.
All right. So if you wanted to go visit a church or some museum instead of
right.
the market, you can. And the last thing I just wanted to ask, I thought I had joined this group in the very beginning. How is the best way to check your membership?
So best way, honestly, is if you're interested in a trip, just fill out the booking form. If you're not already an active member, we can add the membership to your deposit. If you joined early on, we were offering free membership if you signed up for the email
Right.
list. Right now, membership is
Yeah.
$24 for the year, so it's not a huge, excuse me, I think it's not a very large amount anyways. And we would just check the system when we complete your booking. And if you're not a member, we can add on the membership for you at that point. So it's all one transaction and you're taken care of.
And you take credit cards as payment for a trip, right?
That's the only payment we take for our protection and yours.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Any other questions from anybody?
I have a
Yeah.
question.
Oh, sure thing.
Does the hotel that we'd be staying at have a laundry service, or is there access to a self-service laundry? Because that's quite a number of days you're gone if you do the pre-cruise, the pre-trip with that.
Yeah. In general, without knowing, I don't remember if Airways has a laundry or not. But in general, it either has a laundry or the hotel will handle laundry. And so either way, if you wanted to do laundry, you'll be able to do it. And the escort is going to be able to, and your documents in terms of what comes from the travel club will outline that. So you'll be able to handle laundry either way. And just broadly, I just remind everybody, I know we have very experienced travelers, but unless you're going to pay a king's ransom, you're really in a single suitcase environment, not exceeding 50 pounds, 34 kilograms. And so as a result, the clothing that you bring has to be the clothing that you use for your trip. And so the access to clean clothes, either on a self-serve basis or having the hotel do it with the service that they'll provide. Either way, you'll have access to it. But the one thing I would also point out that I constantly say, You are going to dress. This is a layered trip in terms of clothing because you have to prepare for different standards of weather that you'll experience on the trip. Obviously, you're there for the Christmas markets, but in general, there is no dressy clothes needs at all. So I constantly say when I talk about clothing and laundry related things, think about it like the Villages. We are in a very casual environment almost every day of the year. This trip is exactly the same way. Your comfort is important, and that's really all that's important. So just plan your clothing from that standpoint of comfortable and the ability to have layered clothing.
Is there going to be a single supplement for this trip?
There
Yes.
is a single supplement for this trip. I forget what it is off the top of my head, but give me 1 second and I will pull it up.
I think
'cause
it's 1999. I think.
that does sound
1999.
correct, but I'm pulling it up right now so I can make sure I give you the accurate
Well,
information.
listen, I just wanted to know, and I'm sure you said this, it's a great presentation. When you take the additional trip before or after, you provide the transportation
Yes,
from that
that's right.
point
It's
to the next.
turnkey. You
Yes,
arrive in London, and all of the transportation's included to your hotel in
Thank
Germany.
you.
yeah, and the single
Thank you.
supplement is $19.99. That is correct.
Okay, and for the pre-Paris and London, I wrote that one down.
Okay.
It was $12.99, I want to say. Yeah, $12.99.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And people will ask about visas. There are no visas required for this trip. However, the UK does have what they call their electronic travel authorization, or ETA. It costs £20, British pounds. You do it online. It takes 3 days to process. You do it yourself. It's very quick and easy. So any American travelers going to England do have to do that. But if you sign up for the trip, we'll be sending that out to folks because it's a very, very quick, easy process. It's not a visa. They don't need your passport. It's just an online, here's your number that they'll give you.
It's money.
You know how often? You know how often you have to do that? Because we just went last year to London, so would we have to redo it? Is it like once a year?
It's good for 2 years.
It's 2 years. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And Sandra, just to make sure, to dot the I, you should look at your travel authorization for the UK to make sure that what you did is what is currently in effect. It probably is, but just double check to make sure.
Yeah, it's called the ETA. And if you have questions, you can send me what you have, and I can look at it for you and let you know. Because I have a whole group going to the UK in a couple weeks, and so I've been dealing with it a lot recently.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question, if you don't mind. Thank you for this presentation. It's very helpful. On the itinerary, several of the days indicate a day of leisure of your own pursuits. Could you speak to that as to how it works with the group and how the transportation is?
Yeah,
and
what will happen?
I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Okay.
What happens is on many of the travel club trips, they alternate between included sightseeing and leisure time. I personally, as a very experienced escort and traveler, appreciate that. Just like the note that I made about meals, it's not a question of anything that's less expensive. It is value adding your experience when you're traveling. So as a result, they don't overplan the trip. And so they're in a situation where they're saying everybody's not going to want to do the exact same things. So they don't include that because it forces you to make a decision. Well, I've got to do that because it's already been paid for or included. So the days at leisure, generally, depending on the size of the group, the travel club will provide additional excursion opportunities. And you can take an optional tour that the travel club thinks is the best choice for that day or that evening, for example. It could be that too. or you can do something on your own. And so it gives you the maximum flexibility of the choice of what you want to do. And I personally appreciate that. So what they're going to do on this trip for November 30th to December 11th, on days where they don't have sightseeing included, they're going to make suggestions. This is what you could do, what we recommend that you do. The travel club may offer that as an opportunity for you to purchase, or provide the resource links to you of how you would go about it doing that. Either way, it gives you the ability to add to those sightseeing days where you have at leisure. So it works. It works, to be honest with you, I think very well.
And
Do we
Okay,
buy-
Al,
As a-
I had a question on that. Al.
So Fred, what I'm about to say may answer your question because I know you've traveled with us. One of the reasons why we don't have those listed in advance is we are a charity travel club, and depending on the size of the group that ends up going, we may be able to negotiate some very amazing special excursions that you wouldn't normally be able to get. So closer to departure, we'll continue to work and see what we can get organizations to give us basically for a good price for the group, and then we'll send that out in an email telling you what the optional excursions are and how much they are, and you can make that choice at that point to whether or not you want to participate in them. But it's not I don't plan it in advance because we're not a huge organization like Expedia that can just throw money at people, and we wouldn't want to anyways because we don't want to spend more money. We don't want to spend more of your money than we have to. So that is something that does come closer to departure. But
Okay,
Fred-
David, I really want to ask you about this because I don't see many free days in this whole trip. It looks like
Yeah.
I see one free day in London. Well, we signed up for the pre and the post.
Yeah.
I see one free day in
That's
London, one free day in Paris,
That's
and I
true.
think one free day in the last day in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
But other than that, I want to confirm you guys have taken care of, I mean, you're very good at, we went with you to Antarctica, and on the free days, a group of us we would arrange with Viata to do these trips. So
Right.
I'm trying to arrange right now with Viata on the free days. So I only see one in London, one in Paris, and one on the 10th day before the farewell dinner. But then I think Al mentioned we're going into Frankfurt on that day. So are there
Yeah.
no free days at all and HT is taking care of all of this?
Yeah. Fred, for me to answer that question, David, could you please make sure that we make note of that? I'm talking about the itinerary in its broadest terms. So for like day 10, I can't tell you that the sightseeing is included in Frankfurt.
Okay.
Fred, you probably have got the information more
Yeah,
accurate.
it says free day on day 10. So I thought that was something
Yeah.
I had to arrange.
And with
It
the
is.
optional stuff too, there are situations even on days when tours are included. You know, we may find a banquet hall that has an amazing holiday experience that they offer us. So sometimes we'll do those kind of add-ons that may happen in the locations you're already in as a preset thing. I try not to include too much because people want to do their own thing. But we will have, I'm sure with the size of this group, I'm sure we'll have at least a few optional add-ons that you'll be able to choose from. And sometimes there are alternatives to existing days. I've got my trip to Scandinavia coming up, and on the last day in Bergen, you can either do the included tour of Bergen or a tour of the countryside of 5 different villages as a whole day trip. So, you know, that's something I'm offering for that group. So as I get closer and I'm able to negotiate with transportation companies, tour companies, locations, we'll frequently have options that we'll send out to you.
Yeah, but I still don't want to misinterpret like the post trip. You know, it says happening travel, sightseeing Vienna, happening
Fred,
travel, sightseeing.
Fred, you
It
got it
sounds
right.
like it's all on autopilot
You-
and we've just gone for the ride.
You got it right, Fred.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got it right.
Excuse me, but Fred, to your point, in looking at the itinerary I have here, I printed out days 4, 6, 8, and 10 are all at your own leisure.
That's what I have. Same thing. Yep.
Okay. And it sounds to me like it would be best to wait to see what David comes up with, because it sounds like it would be really more exciting than something that Viator would have.
Absolutely. But our experience with Antarctica is those 3 days, the group of us did Viata and they did not come up with anything and we did our own thing. But that's okay. I mean, I'm good either way. But we're starting to look at those 3 days now to see what's available. But we'll keep it open as long as we can to hear from Happening Travel.
Yeah.
But those are the 3 days I also think are free. Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
David,
were there any other questions?
anything else? Yeah.
All right. If that's all, I'm going to end the meeting. If you do come up with any other questions, of course, feel free to give us a call at 352-900-1101, or you can email us at info@happening.travel. If you're watching us on the website or on YouTube after this meeting is done, those are the ways you'll want to reach out to us with your questions. And we hope to see everybody in Europe for these amazing Christmas market experiences.